Maria Stanhope, Countess of Harrington, better known as Maria Foote, was a British actress and peeress in the 19th century. Early life. Foote was born the 24th of July 1797 at Plymouth. Her father, Samuel T. Foote, who claimed to be a descendant of Samuel Foote, sold out of the army, became manager of the Plymouth Theatre, and married a Miss Hart. In July 1810 Miss Foote appeared as Juliet in Romeo and Juliet at her father's theatre, where she also played as Susan Ashfield in Thomas Morton's Speed the Plough, and as Emily Worthington in George Colman's Poor Gentleman. In 1813, her father took over the Royal Clarence Hotel in Exeter. On the 26th of May 1814, she appeared at Covent Garden Theatre as Amandis in The Child of Nature by Elizabeth Inchbald. In this part, which suited her, she made a great success. Her second appearance was at the same theatre in the same character in the following season, the 14th of September 1814. On the 6th of December, she was the original Ulrica in The King and the Duke, or Which is Which, attributed to Robert Francis Jameson. Career actress. On the 2nd of January 1815, she played Miranda in The Tempest, and the 17th of April 1815 was the original Adela in The Fortune of War, attributed to James Kenny. For her benefit, the 6th of June 1815, she appeared as Stat Ira in Alexander the Great, William Henry West Betty acting, for that occasion only, Alexander. This was her first appearance in tragedy. Fanny in The Clandestine Marriage, Hippolyta in An Alteration of The Tempest, Lady Percy in King Henry IV, Helena in The Midsummer Night's Dream, and many other parts, chiefly secondary, in Old Pieces and New, then followed. Her abilities proved to be limited. She had, however, a reputation for beauty sufficient to secure her constant engagements at the patent theatres and in the country. She played with success in both Ireland and Scotland, and accompanied John Liston, Tyrone Power, and other actors to Paris, where they all acted with unsatisfactory results. In 1816, she formed at Cheltenham a relationship with Colonel William Berkeley, by whom she had 2 children. An alleged promise of marriage made by him was not kept. Joseph P. Green Hayne then proposed to her and was accepted. He retracted, however, his offer, and as the result of an action for breach of promise of marriage had to pay £3,000 damages. These proceedings gave rise to pamphlet warfare, through which and through some opposition on the stage Miss Foote retained a measure of public sympathy. At Covent Garden she played every season up to 1824-5 inclusive, frequently in subordinate parts, but taking occasionally characters, such as Miss Letitia Hardy in The Bell Stratagem, Miss Hardcastle, and, for her benefit, Lady Teazle. She was the original Isidora in Barry Cornwall's Mirandola. At Bath on the 13th and the 14th of January 1826, she was the object of hostile demonstrations on the part of a portion of the audience. On the 9th of March 1826 she made as Letitia Hardy her first appearance at Drury Lane Theatre, where also she played Violanta in The Wonder, Rosalind, Virginia, Maria in A Roland for an Oliver, Imogen, and Maggie in The Highland Reel. Her singing and dancing and her way of accompanying herself on the harp, guitar, and pianoforte added to her popularity. She is said to have traversed England, Ireland, and Scotland every year for 5 years, in course of which she posted 25,000 miles. Later life. Her theatrical career closed at Birmingham on the 11th of March 1831, and on the 7th of April of the same year she married Charles Stanhope, 4th Earl of Harrington. They had 2 children. Charles Stanhope, Viscount Petersham, and Lady Jane St. Maur Blanche Stanhope, who married George Conyngham, 3rd Marquis Conyngham. Maria died the 27th of December 1867. Reputation. She was of medium height, her face oval, and her features expressive. She had an abundance of light brown hair. By those most under her influence the character of her acting was described as fascinating. John Genest wrote that she was a very pretty woman and a very pleasing actress, but she never would have travelled about as a star if it had not been for circumstances totally unconnected with the stage. A writer in the New Monthly Magazine, for March 1821, variously stated to be Thomas Noon Talfourd, Thomas Campbell, and Horace Smith, wrote warmly concerning the pure and innocent beauty with which she has enriched our imaginations, and referring to her then anticipated departure, asks rhapsodically, is comedy entirely to lose the most delicate and graceful of its handmaidens and tragedy the loveliest of its sufferers? Talfourd speaks highly of the grace of her movements, and specially commends her singing of the song Where Are You Going, My Pretty Maid? A whole-length portrait by George Clint of Miss Foote as Maria Darlington was sold in June 1847, with the effects of Thomas Harris, lessee of Covent Garden.